All right, so hi, my name's Luke, and for this week, the book that I read was called Death Sentence by David Lodge, and that's the same guy who wrote the first book we read called Small World. And the preface of the book is there's a professor, his name's Professor Bates, and he's a retired professor of linguistics at a university, and he's losing his hearing, or he's lost his hearing. It's almost completely gone now. He's been struggling with it for about the past 10 years, and it actually caused him to retire early from his job at the university. It causes him a lot of struggles with his wife and communicating back and forth, and it even causes him to form an inappropriate relationship with one of his students because he couldn't understand what she was saying and inadvertently set up a meeting with her that kind of sent down a stretch of inappropriate meetings they had. And so that's kind of the main point of the book is him losing his hearing and how he deals with that, and he compares it sometimes to an actual death sentence. He can't really hear the difference between deaf and death, and there's a lot of comparisons between being deaf and being dead and this disability. So the first question, as I said in my comment section, the first question was, as a student or professor at a university, how would you deal with being deaf? What would be some of the major obstacles you would have to overcome? And what are some policies that could be put in place in order to make it easier to accommodate for people who are hard of hearing? And the second question, the second kind of theme throughout the book is the theme of death. With his mom and his dad, he has to take both of them off of life support to end their life, kind of as they're nearing the end, to kind of end their suffering. And he does it first with his mom. In the major part of the book, he follows his dad, who's kind of living by himself and becoming demented. And kind of as he starts to lose it, and he finally ends up in the hospital, and he's on a breathing machine. The machine's feeding him and everything, and he has to eventually take him off the machine. And he feels great guilt for that and responsible for his dad's death. So the other question I would ask would be, if someone were on a ventilator or something like that, where it was keeping you alive completely, is that truly a way to live? And should he feel responsible for the death of his dad? Overall, I really enjoyed reading this book. I thought it was very, very interesting. And as I read it, I thought of the section in the syllabus that all the students tend to overlook at the bottom about students with disabilities and how they would accommodate. And for myself, I think it'd be extremely difficult to go through college being deaf. I mean, trying to hear your professors, you'd have to have some sort of sign language accommodation. You'd have to be difficult to communicate with your peers and with professors. It might be embarrassing if you mishear them accidentally. So there'd be a lot of struggles that you'd face if you were going deaf. And so yeah, that's kind of the main part, and how it would relate that then to a university. So it could be from the perspective of a student and how that would affect them, or in the case of the book, it was from the perspective of a professor and how it affected him in the university setting, but also in his personal life. So yeah, that's a book. I hope you guys have some good discussion about it. Thanks.